Hello, and welcome to the Pet Healer Podcast. This is your host, Dr. Mitzi Vargas, and today we're talking about spring, or should we say wood element season, because this is the season of the wood, and the wood is actually your liver and your gallbladder meridians. And it is not a surprise that we see such an increase in cases with seizures and with some specific areas of dermatitis around the paw pads, like pododermatitis, around the ventrum, peri-inguinal area, and ear infections are on the rise the whole spring. And of course, we blame atopy dermatitis or allergies, but it has to do a lot with the wood meridian, the wood element being imbalanced. The liver obviously controls the eyes, the tendons, the ligaments, so we also see an increase in injuries. Training for this part of the year is also increased. There's a lot more activities for dogs out there in the outdoors, hunting dogs and competing in such, hunting related sports. And you see a lot more injuries with the tendons and ligaments. So to me, wood season is spring season, aka ligament, tendons, dermatitis, otitis season. So in the wood element is associated also with the color green, and you can see it because all our plants, go from being in hibernation. The grass was brown and it starts to get green. Also, all the plants that were in hibernation start to emerge again. So green is the color of spring or the wood season. The sour taste is the flavor that is associated with it. So in food therapy, we use sour flavor to treat conditions with the liver to help the liver maintain the balance. So all of you angry vets out there, start eating your Sour Patch Kids, and you'll see how happy you get, right? Then the emotion of the liver is anger. That's why I said, if you feel yourself being short all the time during this season, or your patience is a little bit diminished, could be because, again, we are in the season of the liver meridian and the gallbladder. So if you have any imbalances, when the season comes up, that's when you can see the deficiencies or the excesses in that energy pattern. And so other things that are associated with it are definitely the traits of the wood constitution. I mean, wood is a great constitution if it's balanced, because that's where all the leaders come from, right? Wood is the alpha. Wood is the one that is dominant and competitive, super competitive. So CEOs of big Fortune 500 companies are usually wood. You don't cross them, because when you cross them, the liver gets out of balance and they will crush you. So, but they are very competitive and they're innovative because of that, because they want to have the edge on. And that's all can be used for your advantage. As veterinarians, we are more concerned with the woods when they're unbalanced. These are the dogs that start showing aggression out of nowhere. They were perfectly fine, dominant dog, but perfectly fine. Now is exhibiting aggressive behavior or just anxiety behavior, some sort of destructive behavior. And it also could be that they are having more trouble sleeping. So waking you up between 1 and 3 in the morning, because that is the time where the liver meridian is most active and the time of the day. And you will see the problems there. 11 to 1 is gallbladder meridian. So that's the husband of liver. That's the other element, Sangfu organ in the wood element. And so you could see regurgitation, you could see like bile problems, gulps in some breeds. You could see a lot of anxiety right before going to sleep at 11 to 1 a.m. And so if you're having these troubles, the dog's getting you up or is just restless or anxious, that might be because the liver or gallbladder meridian are out of balance, the wood element. And so who are those? Well, Dobermans, right? We see some breeds that are very associated with the wood element. Chihuahuas tend to be very woody, and they're tiny but mighty. German Shepherds and Rottweilers, all these guard dogs tend to be wood because that's why makes them a great guard dog, because they are bossy and they want to, be alpha and dominate, and they seem to be very obedient when it comes to in obedience. They learn very quickly because they want to excel. They want to please the master. And so they're pretty good. They like order. They like to be told what to do. If you don't tell a wood dog what to do, then they'll figure it out on their own, and they'll tell you what to do. So that's very important to know that if you start having problems this time of the year with your pet, especially if it's a puppy and it's just coming into their first spring, make sure that you soothe that liver energy. And we're going to talk a little bit about it. And sometimes it's because they have been through some drugs, like non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. One typical one, carprofen, which is known as the brand Rimadyl. That one is a very strong one on the liver, and it could cause, inflammation in the liver cells. And that's the organ, the Sang Fu organ is liver. And so it could affect the liver meridian energy and be manifested in these behavioral outbursts of, out of control dogs or aggressive dogs. Maybe antibiotics. Maybe if your dog had been through surgery because of the tendons or ligaments, ACLs, that are so common to be tore in this part of the spring, just as they start training and going back to their outdoor activities. So you could have them on some medication or some antibiotics, and those are also metabolized in the liver, and they can cause the unbalance in the liver energy. In the TCVM, traditional Chinese veterinary medicine, the liver functions to store the energy. It's like a mitochondria. Stores blood and energy, and the blood carries the qi, the energy. So it stores it, like if it was a cell, a battery, and then it also tends to bathe and nourish the tendons, the ligament, the nails. The quality of the nails tells you how good your liver is. If you have really friable nails, you might be under a lot of stress and your liver energy is out of balance. So the liver also ensures the smooth flow of qi throughout the whole body. And so when the energy of the liver is blocked, we call it liver qi stagnation. And this condition, it will create heat inside of the body. And that heat is so hot. I mean, it's just so hot. It will cause the yang energy, the hot energy, to rise. And when it rises, it affects where? The brain, right? It rises, it goes through the heart and up to the brain. And it can really create reactive behavior, red eyes, seizures. That's why we see the increase in seizures because of that. Inflammation of the eyes, meaning like conjunctivitis, and we blame the allergies for that, but it could be just a malnourished liver Sang Fu or a blocked meridian energy pathway that is just blocked. And so when the liver is unbalanced, the external wind, the wind from the spring, that we see all these breeze that we've been having in Winter Haven lately, it can invade and lead to the itchy skin situation. So the wood element, when it's imbalanced, it would just open the door to a lot of things. And because it holds the blood, and the blood is that kills the wind, and it's not spreading it all evenly in the body, then the external wind can get a hold of the animal. So is this a poetic way that the ancient Chinese explained this situation? But the funny thing is that even though it's poetic and you think it's all allegoric and language or metaphors, it actually applies and it actually happens. So I learned to trust all of those observations from thousands of years. So the treatment of the liver, what is it? Is to soothe the liver qi. We have to soothe the liver qi, and we do that with acupuncture. As easy as to palpate the back of the animal and look at what segment, usually thoracic 10, the thoracic rib segment 10 is associated with bladder 18, about 1.5 Schwinn from midline. And the Schwinn is really the measurement of a rib. So 1.5 rib from midline at the level of the thoracic 10, that's where you find your liver. If you touch there and it's reactive, well, then you could be dealing with liver qi stagnation. So what we do, we use the acupuncture in a distal point like liver 3, which is a level 3 of the points in the channel, and level 3 of those points are usually good for pain and to dispel stagnation, to break the stagnation, to move the blood. And so that's a great idea, just to use a distal point or to just use points to balance the liver. Now we also can use herbals, and we're going to talk a little bit also about herbs because again, it's wood season. We got to talk about some liver balancing herbals. But one of them is called Liver Happy. So it's very simple, Liver Happy, very neutral formula, very, very good to balance the liver. Also, we can use food. So what foods can you use to balance the liver? You can add apple cider vinegar with the mother to your pets. Just use a little teaspoon, add it in the food. You can add green algae, and it comes in powder and it comes in different ways. And you can do green algae. It's as simple as giving celery. So remember, the color of the spring is green. So green foods. But aloe vera is a great way to soothe your liver qi. So if your dog is being a little bit aggressive or out of sorts or waking you up between 1 and 3, try to do aloe in the food, or celery or green algae or apple cider or egg whites, tomatoes, spinach, turmeric, apples. All of these things have some value to soothe the energy of the liver. If your pet is having more seizure activity because it's spring, it's the wood season, then we need to add an herbal maybe for the liver. And if you soothe the liver, the seizures might definitely decrease in incidence, or at least if it's not in frequency, at least in intensity. So if your pet is one of those dominant breeds that we talked about, or a bossy little dog or cat, then they are at risk of being unbalanced during this spring season. So be aware of all the stuff that we discussed. And if it is, help your grumpy pet by balancing the liver meridian with either acupuncture, herbals, or food. I hope you learned something today. You can apply all of this to yourself or to your husband or wife. Whoever is grouchy in the house, we can start giving them some good old food or liver happy and make the family a lot better. Thank you for listening. Remember to subscribe and hit the notification button so you can get all the series for March. Thank you.